Good morning, and thank you for listening. This is Winds of Praise, KWPB LP Newport 98.7, Co-Founders Corner. This is Scott Albright.
And Kelly Albright.
And we have a special guest.
Hello, my name is Katey Townsend.
Make you talk right off the gate here. Katey Townsend, and you are here at the invite of Kelly.
Yes.
How do you guys know each other?
Katey, how long have we known each other?
Almost 40 years.
That's because we are the proud aunt and uncle of Katey. Katey's mother is my oldest sister, Michelle Robinson.
And we have you here this morning because you are actually the principal of the school, the Christian school.
Yeah, so by the grace of God, I've been able to be the principal at South Beach Christian School, and we just completed our second year, which has been an amazing journey and just such a blessing to be able to have a Christian school here in Lincoln County.
How did you get to this point? And can you give us your testimony in a nutshell? And then we want to hear all about the school, and maybe there will be some folks out there that would like to know more for the fall coming up.
Yeah, great. So God has just been so faithful over all my life. Very thankful to have a Christian family that I got raised in, and my mom and dad met here in Newport at one of the churches, and so they raised me in a loving Christian home. I got to go to private Christian school for a portion of my life, and back when I was a little kid, they took me to an event, and I had a woman prophesy over me that I would be an administrator. And, you know, who would have known? I was really young, and but the Lord spoke to her heart, and she, you know, took a step of faith and shared with me that administrative giftings. And as I grew up, you know, I went off to college and went to school for international studies, married my husband, Eddie Townsend, and God brought us back to Newport, Oregon. I would say, you know, I had different positions throughout my life of leadership, but didn't quite know where the administrative capacities would come in. I worked for the school district. God brought us back here in 2010. I worked for Lincoln County School District for 13 years, and I was a program coordinator for homeless outreach services for the district. And God really used that time to fine-tune my gifts and my abilities and really prepare me, I would say, for working and leading a Christian school here in Newport. And so it was just a miraculous story of how God put me in that position. And here we are, but I could backtrack a little bit further. So as soon as I had my son, Elijah, he was going into preschool, and there was a Christian preschool that was out in Toledo at Abundant Life Academy. And teacher Ani was his teacher, and she would teach him worship songs, and he would come home reciting scripture, and she'd pray with him. And it was just a beautiful thing to get to see my son going to a Christian preschool. Well, after year one, that preschool closed down, and I was just, you know, burdened for wanting to have a Christian. If he's not going to be with me at home, you know, I was working during the day. I wanted him to be in a Christian school environment and an extension of our home and our family. And there wasn't that option around. And so for years, my heart was just burdened for having Christian education for my kids. I now have 3 young children and one older daughter as well. And my heart was just burdened for that alongside the church also, South Beach Church, where we were attending. They always wanted to have a school at their location at the warehouse in South Beach, but they were zoned industrial, so there just wasn't a match. Until the Lord put it really clear in my heart in the year 2021 that He was going to start a Christian school. My daughter was going into kindergarten, and my son was going into second grade. And I was just praying that fall, God, what do you have? And I heard I was in one of the rooms of our house, and I heard the word prepare really loud and clear. And I thought, okay, what does that mean? And then I heard it again, very loud and clear, prepare. And I walked out of that room, and my husband, Eddie, said, what has God been speaking to you lately? Just right after that. And I said, well, that's crazy you ask, because I just heard the word prepare. And he goes, well, what do you think that means? And I said, well, God's been burdening my heart for our kids and their education. And it's really, you know, foundational for kids. If they're not going to be, you know, in our home, I was working at the time. I wanted them to be in a place where it's a, extension of our Christianity, our faith. And so I said, I think it has to do with our kids and their education. And so it was like the Lord put me on mission at that point. I just started dreaming and brainstorming about how we could start a school out of our house, or could we find a church building? And at the same time, South Beach Church had gotten notice that the church building was going to be closed. We were actively seeking out property in South Beach up on the hill by the community college. And the church had been taking steps of faith to buy land. And from the pulpit, one day in November, Luke Verchette, the pastor there, stood up and said, God is calling us to buy this land, and we're going to build a church, and it will also be a school. And the whole congregation erupted in applause and excitement. Wow. And I just knew that God was uniting our vision at that time. And there's more to it. I can keep going. Wow. Yeah, so he was uniting our vision. And so Luke and I connected, and it went from me being one of the planners to them saying, we feel like God is calling you to be the principal of the school. And so we started a launch team and visited other schools throughout the state. I went back to the East Coast and visited a school on the East Coast, Comenia School for Creative Leadership. And God just used that time in that fall to fast track us into starting a school the following fall.
Uh-huh. Tell us more about, was it Morning Star? Am I correct?
Yeah,
Morning
so it was
Ministries?
Morning Star. So when my dad heard that we were going to be starting a school, he handed me a book called Kingdom Education. And it was written by the principal, Sandy Wood, she attends Morning Star Ministries, or Christian Fellowship, out of South Carolina. And they had started a school some 10, 12 years later. So basically this book was talking through, if you want to start a school, here's what we did. Here's how the Lord worked through us. And I devoured that book, read it so quickly. It was so inspiring. And then my husband and I got to visit that school in the February of 2022. And we're just blown away by students leading worship, just really kids leading prayers over one another, praying over us as we were visitors at the school. It was really just a spirit-filled, spirit-led school. And so they were inspirational in us starting our school as well. They have a 4-day-a-week school model, and we copied the 4-day-a-week school model. In that, we really believe that we should be a partnership with families, that students can come to school, but they need to have family time in the evenings, family time on Friday and over the weekend to pursue family time and also their gifts and talents. Maybe they're doing internships or they're taking music classes. So by opening up that 4-day school week, they have a lot more time with their families. So we took a lot of inspiration from them. I highly recommend that book if people are looking to start a school. Really, it's awesome right now. There's a lot of Christian schools that are just partnering together and sharing how they got started, what worked for them, sharing their documents and their handbooks. And without all of the help and mentorship from some of these other schools, we probably could have had a slower start or a bumpier start. So God used other schools to help us get our start.
Wow.
Yeah.
And do you have books for each subject, and do they take tests at school, or how does that work?
Yeah. So, other God things and led us to what curriculum we selected. We use the My Father's World curriculum for our Bible, our history, and social studies and science. So part of the reason why we chose that, and I should backtrack a little, is that we are a preschool through high school. We originally started with a smaller vision of preschool through 3rd grade, and God quickly expanded that. And we had a number of people that said, please take my older elementary kids. Please, how about my middle school students? Oh, I have a 9th grader. I really want them to attend a Christian school. And so we found a curriculum that had themes. And so the cool thing about having themes is, although we have kids that are, young and kids that are old, if we take a theme, the first year was countries and cultures. We learn about God's world as a school. So we have preschoolers talking about similar things as maybe their siblings that are in elementary, middle, or high. As we're learning about God's world, we're studying different countries. We were all studying through the book of Matthew together and learning about the Great Commission and making disciples among all the nations. We learned about missionaries throughout the world as well. We learned about the ecosystems of different parts of the world as well. And so just studied alongside one another. This last year, we launched into the beginning of God's creation of the world. So we did creation science. We went through the Old Testament together and learned about ancient civilizations. We also celebrated biblical feasts together, and you both got to experience some of that. So Uncle Scott came and blew the shofar, and we celebrated Rosh Hashanah and the Passover and the Sabbath, and just learned about why would we celebrate biblical feasts, and how do we learn about God's mandate in Leviticus 23 to celebrate some of these feasts, and how does that pertain to us as New Testament believers. And so it was a cool way to go deep in our biblical faith this last year with all of the students.
Yeah, I was very impressed when we came for the feast, and got to sit there and eat the different kinds of food, and the kids were so well behaved, and the teachers were so friendly. And how many volunteers do you have? Because you do have a staff, but you need volunteers.
Yeah, I mean close to 100. It depends on if you're looking at just work party volunteers, ranging all the way to lunchtime volunteers, tutors, security team volunteers. So yeah, wow. It's pretty awesome. We couldn't do it without all of our parent volunteers and community volunteers. So
well, let's talk some nuts and bolts again. I don't even know if we've named the name of the school.
Yeah, so the name of the school is South Beach Christian School, and we eventually will be located in South Beach at the property by the community college. However, in the meantime, God had plans for us to partner with Newport Christian Church in Newport, and that's a cool story too. So we wanted to start the school in the fall of 2022. We knew that the Lord was saying, move, do it, get this going, but we didn't have a church building to do that in. And we toured a few churches in town, but the moment I called Newport Christian Church, I talked with Joel Heisler, one of the elders there. He said, what's crazy is we've been praying that God would use our church building for ministries for families and children. And they had just sent elders to, there was a community college seminar on how to start preschools, and because it's a huge need in our community for more childcare. And they came away with that, yes, we want to do it. We have the space, but maybe they're an older congregation. They didn't have the people to start it. And so that night I called him. He said, come, here's our key, come check it out. So I walked over there with Luke Frechette and Lois and members of our launch team, and we walked through the space that's right in the heart of Newport. And they have a big, beautiful downstairs space with tons of classrooms. They have a modular building that's behind the main building that has housed other Christian schools throughout Newport's history, Sunshine Christian School and Midcoast Christian School. Beautiful outside space with trees around and birds chirping and the bridge and the bay, and it's kind of tucked in there with a nice warm feeling, because you're protected from the wind right there. And we walked through and we thought, okay, with a few work parties, this place is perfect. And so they're so generous, such generous hosts to offer us space, and they worked with us together on work parties to put in new flooring and paint walls and get classrooms ready. And so that's where we're located, is right in the heart of Newport, and eventually we'll build our school building up on the hill. But right now we're very content, very thankful for the space that we have.
You've got about 100 students?
Yeah, first year we had 85 students. This next year we did some remodels and built an office and some other classrooms, and we had 105 students. And in the fall, year 3, we should be able to have just under 120 students, with most of our growth coming at the preschool level.
Wow. And are you interviewing for this next year? Do you need extra teachers or?
Yeah, so right now we're looking for middle school science teacher. That would be part-time, but if there's someone who has a passion for science, loves Jesus, and is good with kids, we're pretty flexible in what their experience is, or degree or lack of degree, for them to apply for that position and see if they're a fit. We also are always looking for substitute teachers, ranging from preschool all the way up to high school teachers. Breakfast club program, so that's kids that need to be dropped off before 8:15. So we need breakfast club staff, after school program staff. It's been really cool. We have all these extra programs that have allowed it for families who work, who need early drop off or late pickup. So that's another way for people to get plugged in and involved. And yeah.
Wow, that
just
is
a few,
great.
just a few holes to fill, but we know the Lord will do it. We've watched his faithfulness before as he's filled different
Yeah.
spots.
Yeah. And where does do you get grants or donations, or, and you mentioned you're going to be having a fundraiser. What does that look like? How you're provided for through the Lord?
Yeah, totally. So, being a private Christian school, we don't receive government funding, and so if you were to attend private or public school, you know, the government provides $10,000+ a year per student for students to attend public school. Through South Beach Christian School, we're funded through tuition. So we charge a tuition. We do have some scholarship funds available that come through donors for partial needs-based scholarships. And so the rest comes through donations. I've applied for a few grants to help kind of boost our budget. And then we also do fundraising. We have a golf fundraiser that's coming up this fall. So if people want to, you know, golf and raise some funds for the school, that's a way. We also just put things on our Facebook and social media pages on how people can donate directly to the school to help fund things like our operational costs. We charge, this next year will be $6,000 a year, which again is much cheaper than public schools. But in order to pay our teachers and our staff and pay for all of our operational costs, we do have to pass along some of those costs to families. And then we also, you know, need things like playground equipment. We're hopeful to put in some playground equipment at our school. We're taking down a wall this summer in order to build a larger kindergarten classroom. So, because we have wait lists for many of our classes. So in order to get more kindergartners in, we need to take down a wall. So we're trying to fundraise $10,000 for that. And yeah, various other things. So comes in from a variety, from tuition from families, from donors who would like to donate either just broadly to operational costs or to specific missions, and then fundraisers like the golf fundraiser that we have coming up.
All right. What are your our darling three nephews and niece? What do they call you on the job?
Oh, yeah. Good question. So I have 3 kiddos that attend the school. My son Elijah, who's going into 4th grade. My son Azalea, who's going into 3rd grade.
Your daughter.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. My daughter Azalea. Of course. Well, she plays on the boys' baseball team. She's used to being around all the boys, but she's clearly a very girly girl, but she's tough too. Yeah. So she's going into 3rd grade, and then my son Lukey is going into 1st grade. And they call me Miss Katie, so we go by, you know, Miss or Mr. or Pastor, and with our first name at the school.
Oh,
it's pretty fun. I would say that's an answered prayer, just as, again, my heart longed to have my kids be in a Christian school setting, something, you know, they say that they spend 12,000 hours in a school setting. So whether that's public school, homeschool, private school, that's 12,000 hours of their childhood being educated. And so my heart's desire was that they would have a Christian education that was aligned with our values and beliefs. And then what a joy and a blessing that I get to do it with them. So I get to be there with them daily and take them to school. We all ride to school together and get to go to breakfast club in the morning together. And I see them, you know, as they go, you know, out to recess in the morning or at the lunchtime. I help run the lunchtime with the kids, and we pray over lunch and do announcements and such. And yeah, I get to see them grow up right in front of me, and it's really fun.
I got to say, it's pretty cool whenever we get to go, which Kelly and I don't get to go very often to different events, but to have Eli come over and give us a hug, that's pretty special.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, oh, Eli came and hugged us.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, so.
And we chase Lukey, and
Yeah, he runs from us.
He's squirrely. Yeah, we call ourselves the Lion family. So our mascot is the lion, and it really does feel like one big family. When we say lions, and the kids respond with roar, and roar stands for respect, ownership, attitude, and responsibility, and just some of the traits, godly traits we want the kids to exhibit. But yeah, it's really cool. We have the middle school and high schoolers do reading buddies with the elementary and preschool students, so they'll go and read together. We do field trips together as a school family. We start every week with chapel. On Monday mornings, we come together for school church, and we'll worship the Lord together. We'll have little ones help lead us in worship songs. Big ones help lead us in worship songs. And then we also have, you know, pastors that share a message and announcements. And we have a high five crew at the end of chapel, so one class will get selected to give high fives on the way out. out, and all the kids go through the tunnel. And so it's really special just to see my kids growing up with kids that are older than them and younger than them that love Jesus, and we just do life together. So it's awesome.
That's so great.
Well, you're listening to the Co-Founders Corner with Kelly and Scott Albright, and our guest today is Katey Townsend, and she is the principal of the South Beach Christian School. I, for some reason, used to call it the Academy. Why did I call it the Academy? I have no idea. The people would correct me and say, no, it's the South Beach Christian School.
It was in the running of names. We thought about Academy. It sounds formal.
Maybe
or it sounds, military. But we went with South Beach Christian School.
And the
SBCS.
lions. So we've seen the lion outfit in different parades and things, and it's kind of cool.
Very cute.
Yeah.
Katey, you should give the listeners your the school's contact information, both the phone, I guess email, mail, or whatever, for those interested in enrolling or sending donation or whatever like that.
Yeah, great. So our website is sbcslions.org. If you also go to the South Beach Church website and you go to there's like a ministries tab, you'll find our school on there as well, and that will take you straight to our website. Our phone number is 541-819-7722. Our email address is school@southbeachchurch.org. And we also have an Instagram account and a Facebook page, so you could find us on there and kind of keep track of all of our different activities. We post a lot of pictures and videos about what we're up to. We do still have a few openings at the school for students next year. Some of our classes are full with wait lists. However, we've seen sometimes things change over the summer and openings become available. So knowing that there's a wait list, don't let that deter you from potentially getting on the wait list and seeing if God has a plan for you to be involved, whether it's this year or following years, having your student enrolled at our school. We also do offer an enrichment program, so you don't have to attend our school Monday through Thursday to attend our Friday enrichments. Once a month, we take the kids adventuring, do things like going surfing, rock climbing, fishing, crabbing, jiu-jitsu, just local experiences or experiences throughout Oregon, getting them exposure to new and fun activities out in God's creation. Or so that can be on Fridays. We have homeschool students that attend that, or if they don't have public school or school on that same given Friday, they can sign up to be a community member that joins our school Lion family on Fridays.
Sweet.
So that's our Friday enrichment program. Those are ways to get involved. And like I said, there's still openings for, of course, volunteers, for substitute teachers, for middle school science teacher, and we'd love to get more people involved in our Lion family that are passionate about Jesus and raising up this next generation.
Great. And because I'm a yard sale, rummage sale fan, I know that South Beach is having a big sale coming up. Is the school going to have a little part in that?
Mostly, so the school's a big supporter of the church. Parents and some of our volunteers are helping out with some of the activities, but I will say we do like to kind of take our Sabbath month of July where we don't do too much, school oriented, but yes, we'll be there. We'll represent at the garage and rummage sale. So
great.
So when do you start thinking about school again for the next year?
August. Well, I'm still working right now, so I'm trying to wrap things up here in June. Yeah, I'm still working. And then when we come back in August, so we kind of get started. We have some summer projects. We have work parties going on, so people who want to help us, we're painting the modular a cheery sunshiny yellow this summer. Doing some prep work for the playground as well. That's coming up in August. But our teachers and staff come back 2 weeks before school starts just to do training, orientation, get classrooms set up. We have an open house for our students as well. So July is kind of our month off, and we get right back at it in August. And, it's nice to have the summer, but I can tell you what, we're so excited when we get to see the students and families again. It's a great reunion.
And we want to say happy birthday to you. You have a birthday coming up.
I do on Friday. Yeah.
Yes.
So, happy birthday to Katey.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I remember that day.
Yeah, every time we're driving to the valley and we see daisies, Kelly says, yeah, that's when Katey was born.
Yeah.
The daisies on the side of the road.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, well, thank you, niece Katey, for being here and letting us know more about the school and
Principal
yourself.
Katey.
Huh?
Miss Katey.
Miss Katie. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
It's okay.
I don't get a demerit.
Yeah, no, never.
All right. Well, thank you for listening. This has been Co-Founders Corner. Again, we air this program on Wednesday mornings at 7:30 to 8 if we get that far. I told Katie, you don't have to worry about it. 30 minutes max, 20 minutes maybe at the minimum. And so it's been about that, 25 minutes right in the middle. Mm-hmm. So thank you, Katie, for coming.
Thank you,
Yes.
and thanks for all of your support. You've been great supporters
Yep.
of our school.
Oh, you're welcome.
And you're listening to Co-Founders Corner on Winds of Praise, KWPB LP Newport.